Welcome, welcome. It's been a while. So, hey everyone, thanks for joining me. I am attorney Jamila Little. DV lottery is actually the way that I became a green card holder, the way that I got my green card. And it was back like I can't remember the exact year. I think it was 2011, somewhere around there. When I applied. So they've actually changed a few things up. One of the things that they've changed is I remember getting notified by mail. So I got this letter that came to my house after I applied. And honestly, I did not think that I was going to be chosen because, like I said, this is 50 to 55,000 green cards. And there are literally millions of people from all around the world that apply. So I honestly did not think I was gonna get this. I wasn't checking, wasn't looking, but I did get a letter that came to my house, and I thought it was I thought it was a scam. I actually thought it was a scam. So I'm reading this letter, and it's basically telling me that I have been selected and giving me next steps as to what to do. Now, remember, they've changed this. So if you're getting into the 2025 DV program, you actually would be able to go online. I think they're actually going to notify online. You would have to check online to see if your application was actually chosen and get next steps. But back when I did it, back, like I said, 2010-ish, 2011, around there, they would notify applicants via mail, so snail mail, right? So I got my approval, and I really thought it was a scam. I had to actually call in and follow up and figure out how to verify that that it was actually real. So it turned out to be real. Thank you, Jesus. I was about to get a green card because at that point in time, I was a law school student, and y'all know law school is expensive. So I was going through law school as an international student. So that is super duper expensive, paying out of state tuition. But now I was getting the opportunity to actually get my green card. So a couple of things that pertain to me that may or may not pertain to your situation. So I was already in the US. So I had a choice to make, right? I was in the US, I was studying. So, I had my status was fine. There was nothing wrong with my status. So I had a choice to make. I was either going to adjust my status in the US, or I was going to go back to Trinidad, where I'm from. And again, Trinidad is one of those countries where we probably have about 1 point something million people. So we don't have like a huge migration rate to the United States. So again, we are one of those countries where if you are from Trinidad and you're out there and you're thinking about doing it, nothing to lose again. So I got the letter, and I'm trying to decide, okay, am I going to do adjust my status here in the United States, or will I do consular processing and go back to Trinidad and consular process? And that's a question that you're going to, if you are outside the United States, obviously you're going to go do consular processing, right? But if you are here, and you are in status and you can adjust your status, that's something that you may want to think of, right? The other thing that comes up is, what if you are here out of status, right? That's a topic for another time. But I decided, I looked at the time frame. I looked at, okay, how long is it going to take me to adjust my status versus if I were to do consular processing? And at that point in time, it was a lot shorter for me to go back home to Trinidad and consular process. So that's what I actually ended up doing. I decided to consular process. So I went back and went through the process of going to my interview at the embassy in Port of Spain. and got the process going that way. I had to do everything there. I did my medical. I did all of the consular processing steps back home in Trinidad and Tobago, just because like I said, the adjustment period for doing it here in the US would have taken a little bit longer. So that's something, if you are a DV lottery winner, that's something that you will have to think about as well. And then the process was pretty seamless. Once I completed my interview, I got my stamp and my passport. So someday I'm actually gonna see if I could bring that old passport so you guys can see what that stamp looks like. So I was able to get my stamp and my passport, came back, started school again. My green card was mailed to me, and I think the rest is history. So the DV program is an annual program that offers up to 55,000 green cards. Applicants who are selected for the program must meet certain eligibility requirements. So you have to be admissible to the United States in order to get the green card through this program. What happens is once you do your application, they will select, and they say it's a lottery system, right? So once you actually do your application, they will select a certain number of people. Typically, it's more than the 55,000 because some people will not be eligible. So I want to answer a quick question as they come in. My dream, ask, can anyone apply? So the answer is yes, but, right? So there always is some conditions. There are some countries, and I will go through the countries that are basically oversubscribed. You know, there are a certain amount of people who have already come to the US from those countries, and they will not be able to apply. So I'll go through those countries so you'll know who is actually eligible. So the countries that are not eligible are Bangladesh, Brazil, Canada, China, including mainland and Hong Kong, Colombia, Dominican Republic, El Salvador, Haiti, Honduras, I know it's a list, India, Jamaica, Mexico, Nigeria, Pakistan, the Philippines, the Republic of Korea, South Korea, Venezuela, and Vietnam. And let's say you are, let me give you a scenario. So let's say you are from one of those countries that may not be eligible, but maybe your spouse, because these diversity visa programs, remember, this is a green card. So your spouse and your minor children can be included, right? So if you, well, once you are approved, right? So if you maybe from one country that is not eligible, but your spouse is from another country that is eligible, your spouse can actually apply, and then that way you can get into it, okay? So some more criteria. Each DV applicant must meet the education and work experience requirement for the DV program. So you have to have at least a high school education or equivalent, and this is defined as successful completion of a 12-year course of formal elementary and secondary education. So you have to have at least high school or 2 years of work experience within the past 5 years in an occupation that requires at least 2 years of training. So high school equivalent or 2 years of work in the past 5 years. Okay.
So can you sort of talk about what Senate Bill 1718 is, Florida Senate Bill 1718 bill is, and what the possible effects of that bill is?
Yeah, absolutely. So Senate Bill 1718 has been signed already by Governor DeSantis. And I'll just kind of go through the things. It certainly is a bill targeted at immigrants, illegal immigrants, or undocumented immigrants. And I'll just jump right in to talk about some of the things that it affects. So you mentioned abandoned buildings and workers. One of the things that it targets is employers. So employers who employ over 25 employees now have mandatory reporting through something that is called E-Verify. So they have to report through this E-Verify system. So penalties for employers who employ undocumented immigrants, it can, I believe the fine is $1,000 per day, according to SB 17. The transportation of undocumented, let me say, you have to be aware that they are undocumented. So you have to have the intent to transport undocumented immigrants into the state of Florida. So there was an initial version of this bill that made it or intended to criminalize just having an undocumented immigrant in your home. A lot of the population in Florida, they have immigrant maybe even undocumented immigrants as family members, and they may live with them. And so that was a big concern. I just want to say that's not part of the bill. It's not a crime to live with your parent or aunt or uncle who may be undocumented, to live with them, to have them live in your home. So I just want to put that out there because I think this was like a big scare. There is the parole program that was opened for Cuba, Haiti, Nicaragua, Venezuela. And then there's another program that's going to be open for some other countries, including Colombia, El Salvador, Guatemala, Honduras, where people would have the opportunity to, as you say, come legally. It is still going to be a waiting process because I know for the parole program, we have some clients who did apply, and this is earlier this year, and they're still waiting, but it may be a Band-Aid. I don't know if it's a solution long term, but it definitely, I think, is a step in the direction of allowing people the opportunity to come to the U.S. without having to feel like they have to come through lives. If you do have comments, or if you do need to reach me, my telephone number is there on the screen. So thanks a lot for joining me, and I will see you guys in the next one. Bye, guys.